Hello, my name is Jim Winkowski. I am a Principal Solutions Advisor with Rocket Software. In this video, I will be introducing you to the batch reporting capabilities that are available within the Omegamon for Db2 Performance Expert. Omegamon for Db2 has multiple interfaces available, including several ISPF-based interfaces as well as a GUI client. However, the batch reporting capabilities prove to be still the most popular interface for generating Db2 performance-related reports. As part of this video, I will be giving you some of the basic concepts of batch reporting, as well as show you how to use the ISPF-based interactive report facility to easily generate the batch JCL required to run your batch reports. So with that, let's go ahead and get into the presentation. So again, our agenda for today is number one is I'll be talking about the batch reporting concepts available within the Omegamon for DB2 batch reporting, as well as using the IRF or interactive report facility. And again, this is a beginner-focused video demo, so this is not going to be an exhaustive overview of all the capabilities that are available within the batch reporting. That it is quite an extensive list of the types of options and the type of reports that you can generate with batch reporting. So what I want to do today is I'm going to focus on basically getting you started and how to set up some basic reports that you can then move forward with and create more and more custom reports as you see fit. With any type of DB2 performance monitor or report or DB2 performance related reports, you need to first be collecting your data. I'm making the assumption that you are already familiar with the DB2 trace facility, but I thought I would just do a quick 10,000 foot overview of how the data is collected that's required in order to be able to run your reports. So DB2 data is collected by something called the Instrumentation Facility or IFC. These trace records are known as IFKIDs, and there are DB2 commands that are used to control the starting and stopping and modifying of your traces. So that's something that you would refer to the DB2 manual for more details. You can also use Omegamon to manage your traces as well. We provide various interfaces to allow you to easily start and stop different types of traces. But essentially, at a high level, what the main trace classes are that we're going to be using when we're generating our reports are number one are your statistics class traces, and these are your global statistics, basically showing you the overall health of your DB2 subsystems. And these are typically running all the time. They're very low cost. They're going to show you things like general SQL activity, buffer pool activity, deadlocks, timeouts, etc. The next type of trace is the accounting class traces, or the 101 type of traces, and these are your thread level statistics. And typically with these, the classes that you have running most commonly are the 1, 2, 3, 7, and 8. For security monitoring, if you want to see who's accessing data, who's running DDL, things like that, that's where the audit class traces come in. And finally, it's the performance class traces, which are by far the most expensive of your DB2 performance traces. These should be used sparingly and only when very specific detailed data is required for a particular application that you might be trying to do some performance debugging with. So it's going to be very detailed output. It's going to be very expensive output. It's something that you want to put some very specific filtering criteria on and run for typically very short periods of time. So again, refer to the DB2 manuals to get more details on these, but again, this is just kind of a high-level overview of the types of different trace classes that are available for when you're running your reports. Okay, so this is a very simple architectural diagram of how Omegamon's batch reporting works. So you've got your DB2 trace collections out there running, your statistics class, your accounting class, whatever it is. That data is then being written out into your SMF log streams or perhaps an SMF data set or maybe even GTF records. That data can be fed then into as input into the batch reporting facility. Also, you may have potentially ran some DB2 traces via Omegamon. Might have been through the PE client or through batch or ISPF dialogues. You may have started a specific SQL trace as an example for a particular application, and then you wrote that data out into a sequential file. That can also be used as an input into the batch reporting. And once you have your input files identified and you generate your batch jobs, which is what we're going to be walking through a little bit later in this presentation, you get various output choices for your report. So you can do your batch reporting online. You can also have something called the performance database, which is a DB2 based performance warehouse that you can actually offload the data to do long-term archiving and statistical type analysis type of reports, whatever it is you might be doing. As also, you can potentially even output the data into like a CSV file as an example if you want to be generating spreadsheets or maybe plugging that data into some other type of a BI tool. So you've got multiple output formats available, and I'm going to be talking a little bit more about that in the next slide. So for some of the reports, you have the option of specifying the level of detail in the output. So example for the accounting, the record trace, and the statistics type of reports, you can choose between a long and a short format. So the short format, again, is going to be just a condensed, kind of summarized version of all the activity collected versus the long, which is going to give you the detail for each of the individual plans or packages as an example. So depending on what type of information you need. So maybe you want to run a daily short report to give you just a summary of activity. And then the event that you might have encountered some sort of a performance issue, you may want to choose to run the long report. So you can't choose then that level of detail in your output for your different batch reports. So there's quite a few different reports available via the batch facility. The most common being the statistics and accounting class traces. Those are the ones that people typically run on a day-to-day basis. But if you need to do things like SQL traces or audit class traces, or you want to do a review of locking or explain activity as an example, those are all available through the batch reports. The key point being though that you need to be sure that you have the appropriate trace classes active in order to generate the data for those reports. And again, that's requires you to have a bit of knowledge on the different trace classes available within the instrumentation facility. So for that, you're going to need to review. You're going to reference your Db2 performance manuals. So for some of the reports, you have the option of specifying the level of detail in the output. So example for the accounting, the record trace, and the statistics type of reports, you can choose between a long and a short format. So the short format, again, is going to be just a condensed, kind of summarized version of all the activity collected versus the long, which is going to give you the detail for each of the individual plans or packages as an example. So depending on what type of information you need. So maybe you want to run a daily short report to give you just a summary of activity. And then the event that you might have encountered some sort of a performance issue, you may want to choose to run the long report. So you can't choose then that level of detail in your output for your different batch reports. So the Omegamon batch reporting has its own batch command language, and this is just an example of the formatting of the various components within the language. So you can see there's quite a few options, and it can be challenging, when you're first getting started to set this up. And this is really where when we get into the ISPF, the interactive report facility, it's going to show you how you can set up your initial jobs. But just real quickly here, you've got some different sections. Number one is the global section. What that will do is those are parameters or criteria that are going to control basically the range of data that's going to be input into your batch report. So you see things like you've got a from and a to date. I want data for a specific subsystem ID, as well as I'm adjusting my time zone for my local time. So again, that's going to apply overall to all the reports being generated via this batch job. And again, you can actually generate multiple reports within a single job. So in this example, the second section there is the accounting. So I'm running accounting traces or accounting reports rather. And then I got the different various different reports underneath my accounting. So I'm actually generating 3 reports here in one. So I've got my first report, which I'm ordering my data by the primary author ID, plan name, with a long report. And then my second report, I'm ordering by connection type interval, with different scoping, and then I finally got a trace report, which is including data for a specific authorization ID correlation name. So again, you can combine multiple reports into a single job, and just the challenge can be just kind of getting comfortable with the syntax, and that's why using the report facility is going to be kind of a great kickstart for you to get some initial jobs set up, so then you'll be easily be able to take those and just modify them right to be to the appropriate parameters that you want to use for any future reports. Okay, so again, that was a very brief overview of how the batch reporting facility works. By all means, please refer to the reference guides for the batch reporting to get into the more details of all the different options that you have available. But what I want to do now is I just want to take you through a quick tour of the interactive report facility, which is just a great tool for if you're just starting out running batch reports and how to help you in generating your initial batch reports. So again, the interactive report facility is available through the Omegamon Db2 ISPF interface. And this comes in as part. This interface comes as part of the. It's in the RK02 SAMP member of your install data sets. And it's the FPEJ and NIT Rex exec, and so you need to get that installed into your system. Then you'll be able to launch the ISPF interface. And what we're going to do is we are going to be using this again to create a sample batch report and then actually execute that report. So let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly walk you through the interactive report facility. So we're in the ISPF interface for Omegamon. The first thing I want to do is I want to select my options, make sure that we're running an execution mode of background, so make sure that's set to 1. We're good there. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to set up a simple accounting report. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a slash there under accounting, hit enter. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a select next to the DD name. I can optionally put a name there. I'm going to leave it blank. I'm going to add a comment, and I'm going to let the IRF generate my DD name for me, which you'll see there is the ACR report DD. Our scope is going to be member, so we're going to do number 1. We're going to do a long report, so let's go ahead and do that. We're not processing exceptions, we're just gathering accounting stats. And what I want to do is I want to tailor my report to be specific to some certain performance issues that I'm interested in. So top entries, and what I'm interested in is elapsed time in DB2 as well as get pages. So I'm going to scroll down here and select get page count. And what I want is I want to generate a report on the top 10 of both of these categories. And I'm going to limit this to those 2 categories. So I'm going to get a report with my top 10 elapsed time in DB2 and my top 10 get page requests. Next, what I'm going to do is I want to order my report. So I'm going to specify my sequence. I want to order it by plan name and primary auth ID. So I'm going to put those 2 numbers in there. PF3 back. I'm not going to do any date time ranges for at this point, so I'm just going to PF3 back again. Okay, PF3 one more time. Now what I want to do is I want to go down to my global processing. There's a few things I want to set there. So I slash enter. One thing that's recommended is your page size. If you're going to be viewing this online, make that 999. It just makes it easier to read. The other thing I may want to do is I may want to adjust my time zone depending on where my actual machine is. So my machine is running on the East Coast. I'm on Central Time. So what I want to do is I want to adjust my time zone by an hour. All right, so it's actually displayed in my local time. Here again, I can optionally put some time ranges if I want to limit the number of SMF records that I process. I'm not worried about that right now. So next thing I want to do is I'm going to hit F11 there for include exclude, because I want to do some further filtering of my report. So what I want to do is I want to focus on a specific subsystem of DB2. So what I'm going to do is I want to say I want to include in my report values for my subsystem PCA1. So I do that. Now I'm going to PF3 back. PF3 one more time. So now what I can do is I can review before I actually generate my job. So I'm going to press F6. I can review my generated parameters, make sure everything looks good. So you can see I've got my global section with my page sizes, my time zone adjustment, my subsystem ID, and then my other parameters for my long report and the different criteria that I want. So now what I'm ready to generate, so I can go ahead and I can hit F5, press F5 to compose my JCL. There's my input, and this is basically I took a dump of an SMF file and put it into a data set for a specific range of time that I was interested in. So that's why I didn't put a time range in my job, because I just want to process this entire file. And it specify the sysout equals stars for the different DDs. So now what we can do is we can go ahead and we can generate our job, and we can review it and then submit it. So I'm going to add my job card here. And then I just do a final review of my parameters, make sure my input file is good. I've got all my report parameters look good. I can go ahead and submit this job. And then what we're going to do is once this job completes, we can go over to SDSF, and we're going to do a little question mark next to our job. And you will see the account report DD in there, and you see we've got almost 19,000 records in our report. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select that report, or that DD rather, and review my report. And here's my batch output. So you can see I've got my subsystem of PCA1. You can see I've got my top field there of elapsed time spent in DB2. And those are, again, are sorted by plan name auth ID. So I've got all my detail performance metrics here now for those top 10, right, sequenced by that plan name and primary auth ID. So I'm scrolling through this just so you get an idea of what's out there. And then you'll also see now my second request was for get page requests. So now I will also see my top 10 get page requests ordered by plan name and primary auth ID. So you see it's a very easy way. Using the IRF facility is a very easy way to quickly generate your jobs if you're just starting out, to get your syntax all set up correctly. But now once I created this, what I could do now is I want to go ahead, I want to save this batch job into my PDS, my JCL PDS. And now I really don't ever need to really go into the report facility anymore. What I could do is I could just use this PDS member sort of as a template. So now what I could do is I'll go in there and take a look at my JCL. And now what I can do is I can just merely use this, again, like as a boilerplate. I can make copies of this and adjust my parameters, different input files, different report criteria, whatever it is, and then adjust going forward. So again, it's a very quick and easy way to get those first jobs set up. And then from then on, you just use your JCL for subsequent templating. So that completes my overview of the batch reporting facility with Omegamon for DB2. Hopefully you found this informative and helpful in getting you kind of jump started in generating your DB2 performance batch reports. Obviously, there's a lot more detail to these reports, and I would recommend going out to the IBM Knowledge Center and referring to the various user guides and manuals for the OMPE batch reporting. There's the reporting users guide, the command reference, and the report reference, which are all very useful and give you plenty of detail on how to modify these reports and customize them in any way you see fit. So again, thank you very much for listening.